Everyone, and welcome to this very special edition. It's the PRYDERCUP. It's a mixture of the Ryder Cup and the President's Cup. We get to see a lot of the great players' names from over the years, and we'll match them up over Twitter to see who comes out on top. What we've done is selected 3 captains, all good golfers in their own right, as far as I understand. And we'll go through the we'll meet them now and go through their teams. But just to let you know quickly how this is going to work, we're going to run it on Twitter on a Twitter poll. Look for the hashtag PRYDERCUP. It's going to be on every post we make, and you can vote in each 2-ball and foursomes. And ultimately on Sunday, let's hope it comes down to the wire. And it'll be very interesting to see what the boys think. And I'm looking forward to getting Gary's opinion on the betting as well. Let's introduce the panel there, and I'll start off with Barney Girnun. Barney, good to have you back on the show. Excited for this competition, the PRYDERCUP?
Hi, Brenty. Hello, Gary. Hello, Neil. Great to be here and had a lot of fun last time. And I'm very excited for the PRYDERCUP because I finally got a chance to choose the greatest international team ever, and it doesn't matter what era. So I think I've got one hell of a team, and I reckon I should be favourite to win this because we're playing at the links in Fancourt. I'll tell you a bit more about that just now.
Excellent. Well, we'll also bring up Gary's initial betting because, I mean, he made the USA quite strong favourites at 1-3. And I must admit, I was looking further down the list and saying, I think there's a little bit of value elsewhere. It'll be interesting to see if Gary will reassess after the show. So that's Barney from MSC Sports. We'll have him back on in a second. And then Neil Andrews. Neil, good to have you on the show. And first of all, congrats. I see you doing your own YouTube stuff. I saw an interview with Terry Payne the other day. Great to watch.
Yeah, I've actually been given the freedom of London because it's impossible to get Terry to do anything technological. And just to get him to switch his phone on was a remarkable achievement. So it took 50 minutes for him to understand what Zoom or Skype or anything was like, but we got it done. But he's, and all these guys, you, Brent, Barney upstairs there, and to my left, Gary, have worked with Terry. I mean, he's a great character, and I think we're all pleased that he's well, healthy. He's well into his 80s now, so, I phone him every 2-3 days to check that he's avoiding any problems with the virus, and he's as sprightly and as entertaining as ever, so I'm sure all the boys wish him the best.
I can honestly say I don't think I've seen an 82-year-old like that, and he's sharp as a tack as well when it comes to sport and all the rest. And I enjoyed the conversations you had. And then Gary Lentin, the beard continues to grow. Gary, good to have you back. You must be dying for sports betting to return.
Yeah, obviously, Brent, it's great to be in such a esteemed company as well. I must admit it. The 4 of us go back a long, long time. I just want to touch on something that Neil said about. I remember a lot of stories that I've heard from Neil, from Barney, from you as well. But just one that it's not a humorous one at all. It's just it just puts a good light on Terry Payne, and just, people need to know this. And Neil can pick me up with the detail. But apparently, many years ago, Neil was with Terry in England. I think maybe even in Southampton, and a couple of youngsters came past, and they saw Terry Payne, and they stood up, and the one guy knew him well, and he said, "Hi, Mr. Payne," or whatever it was, and everything. And the other guy just sort of like sat down, and he was a little bit casual. And his mate gave him a crack with a book or a newspaper or something, and said, "Hey, you, don't you know that you're in the company of royalty?" And I think that people need to realize that sometimes we take for granted. Not most of us were either not born or very young in 1966. And I'm not sure that everybody knows how much Terry achieved. You know what I mean? 1,000 games for Southampton, a World Cup. There are not too many English people that can say that. And sometimes he's taken for granted and a little bit lightly. And I just thought, let's just get that out of the way in the meantime, and then move on to the serious business of the golf.
Yeah, can I just say something on the subject of Terry, which is not going to be as polite as Gary? A lot of people said to me, I should actually put Terry into my European team because there's nobody in the world that will beat Terry off his handicap, especially with the way he plays, which is probably fairly true, I would imagine. He's got to be the world's best 13 handicapper ever, hey, Barney?
Better than A.B. Mitchell, I must tell you.
We'll get to him.
I've never beaten him. He's too good for us. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, word on Twitter is that Neil has dug deep for his European team. He's certainly giving experience the nod. So we look forward to seeing his team a bit later. Just a reminder then that this is the PRYDERCUP, a mixture of the Ryder Cup and the President's Cup. It's taking place from Friday to Sunday this week. And it's at the Fancourt links. It was originally going to be at Augusta, but there was some late drama there that wouldn't allow us the use of the course. Barney Girnun very happy. We're at Fancourt. He's picked his team accordingly. And I think let's get straight into the home team Barney, let me bring up your team. You have sent it to me before. Now, Barney, you've got the internationals, which obviously is South Africa, Australia, basically anyone outside of Europe and the USA. And run us through your team here.
Okay, well, obviously at the top, I've got the greatest of them all, Gary Player, who designed the actual course we're playing on. He designed the Fancourt links, so what an advantage. And he's won 9 majors, very hard to beat. I mean, one of the top 5 golfers of all time, so he is at the top of my list. After that, I got Ernest Theodore Else, the man who held off Tiger Woods at the Fancourt links in 2003 in that epic playoff in the dark. So Ernie's pretty good at the Fancourt links as well. And he's also won 2 British Opens. Gary Player's won 3, and this is played in the links course. Our next man is the most popular golfer ever and one of the greatest ball strikers of all time, and that's Nick Price. Born in Durban, played in the Sunshine Tour all his life from Zimbabwe, one of our own as well. Great player, also won an Open Championship and 2 PGAs, and plays really well at the Fancourt links. Next up, his ex-best friend, not friends anymore, Greg Norman. Have to pick Greg Norman, one of the greatest Aussies ever, and 2 British Opens he won as well. He will play well at any links course, the great Greg Norman. Then comes Bobby Locke. I mean, who could not? He won 4 Opens in about 6 years. He went to America, whipped their asses in America, won about 12 PGA Tour events, and they kicked him out. He beat Hogan, he beat Sneeg, he beat Nelson, he beat them all. The great Bobby Locke, probably one of the best putters ever. And who knows what he would have achieved if he was allowed to play in America full time, because he was on the road to becoming the greatest of all time, and he won 4 Opens. You know, Gary, I had to tell Gary Lentin this morning about that, yeah. But I mean, you talk about a great here. All right, and then we go to Peter Thompson, who won 5 British Opens. Probably the greatest Aussie player ever. What a wonderful swing, wonderful man, but plays well on links golf courses, and we're playing at the Fancourt links. Vijay Singh from Fiji is my next. You know, another man on his day. When he turned 40, he became unbeatable. And I mean, you've got to have Vijay in this team. Plays well on all golf courses, so I had to pick Vijay. The only man in my team who's never won a major is Brandon Grace. But how dare I not pick him? He has never lost a President's Cup match. He is the best President's Cup player of all time. He comes from Fancourt. How dare I not pick Brandon Grace? A certainty. And he'll play in most of my matches. You know, David Graham or Retief Querson. It was between David Graham or Retief Querson. David Graham won a US Open and a PGA. Tough as nails, Aussie. Unlucky not to win more majors. And Retief, a great player. But I've gone for David Graham because I think he's a really good singles player and a good team player. So I've gone for David Graham from Australia. Adam Scott, I've picked him because he's got a great passion for the President's Cup. All he wants to do is beat those Americans. He loves it. He's a massive part of the team. One of the best swings you've ever seen. Always plays well. Ernie's big mate. And, you know, you're going to need a mate in the bar for Ernie besides Bobby Locke. So I picked Adam Scott. Louis Oosthuizen, I had to pick. He is Brandon Grace's partner. They never lose together. He comes from that part of the world. He comes from Mossel Bay. Hardly loses a President's Cup match. I had to pick him. And then I went for a Kiwi. Our old mate, I had to pick Bob Charles. Winner of the Open, probably one of the best putters of all time. A man who would be great in this format. And let's bear in mind, a lot of these guys didn't have the privilege of playing in the President's Cup. And that's why it's my privilege to be able to pick them. I just have to say that Bobby Locke and Ernie Els were late for the team picture today because they were both in the pub. Next, thank you.
I see our old friend Paul Scumby, he's coming in on Facebook asking, will they use modern or old-fashioned golf clubs? Well, certainly a few of the guys will be happy with old-fashioned, but everyone will play with 11, play with it, and we assume every guy's at the peak of his career in this thing as well.
Yeah.
So we're not asking sort of 80-year-old Gary Player to tee it up against Tiger Woods at this point. Every guy in the peak of his career.
Brent,
Neil, you see any holes in that slide? Oh, sorry.
I left out Steve Elkinson, who was a great player.
The elk.
Not the nicest guy in the world. He blocked me on Twitter, so fuck him. Excuse me, language.
I'm going to tag him. I'm going to tag him with the show and say, sorry,
no, don't. He blocked me. I kicked Elk out because good golfer, not a nice guy.
Can I just, as you know, the group knows, I don't know whether you've made it public, you said we moved from Augusta. That was because I had a complaint about it being at Augusta. I've now got, that was against Gary because he wanted to have it at Augusta. I've now got a complaint against Barney's team. He's chosen 16 golfers here. So if you have a look, instead of 12, he's got Bob and Charles, David and Graham. He's got Adam and Scott, and he's got Greg and Norman. That's an extra 4 guys.
Only you would see that, Neil.
And I must tell you, David Graham's my dad as well. I was very shocked to see him in the lineup there. I think you're in a lot of trouble there. Gary, you see any holes in that team? Anywhere you think the US can attack?
Well, there are a couple of things. First of all, I always thought Bobby Locke was Cockney slang for something I keep in my pants, but I'm happy that you tell me. I'm happy with that, right?
I mean, Neil.
The second of all, Bob Charles, another one I question. He could certainly beat his son, Ray Charles. I don't know if he's going to beat anybody in America. The other thing that concerns me, if VJ and Patrick Reed play in the singles against each other, the European guy's going to have his work cut out to watch those two in the rough. That I promise you. But it's a pretty solid side. I must be honest. There are very few weaknesses there, and you've chosen a side that's set up for the course that's going to be played and everything. And if you can get your combinations right, I think it's a very tough side. Barney, I definitely see a podium finish, no doubt about it.
Oh, thank you very much, Gary.
And Barney, another thing is bear in mind how this competition is going to play out as well. It will play out on Twitter. And obviously you've got the international team. And I think you're quite wise to put a New Zealander in there, to put a Fijian in there, because if we can get the word out to a few of those countries, you might find quite a lot of support coming for you on Twitter there. We just got to get the word to them. So you're going to get support from all over the place. Whereas if you take Team USA, for example, it's going to be very polarized. We'll have to get some of the US golfing guys coming into that one. But I think it's a great time. For me, it was Retief Wilson was the name that I thought might be there.
Yeah, it's between, I had to pick one left-hander, and it's between Bob Charles and Mike Weir. But as you know, Mike Weir has gone a bit pear-shaped in the last few years, so I've stuck with Bob Charles.
Has he blocked you on Twitter as well?
No. He loves me, Bobby.
Mike Weir's game went seriously. I mean, he won the one major, if I remember correctly, and
he won the Masters.
Off there, but then he went backwards at a rate of knots.
And so there was one more, Mo Norman. The only problem with Mo Norman, greatest swing ever, won a golfer, talented man, never played the big tours, So I looked at Mo Norman from Canada as well.
But a Canadian, yeah. There's a little bit of I mean, the truth is, there is a little bit of a drama when we come to the American side later, and one of you picked it up, and that was Trevino being American and everything. And somebody said, well, they thought he was Mexican. And I mean, the fact of the matter is, where was he born? And you know what I mean? If today there was President's Cup, would he today qualify for the world side like the other guy that came from Mexico? What's his name? Answer, right? I mean, Answer's not available.
No, but I think Lee played Ryder Cup for America. Because
there was no President's Cup in that time.
Yeah,
I've included
true.
American side. But if there's an objection, I do have, I will find a replacement if he gets thrown out before tee-off time.
You may want to throw him out after the first 2 rounds if he's not scoring any points for you the game.
Brenty, I want to talk to Neil Andrews.
Yes,
I love Neil Andrews. He's one of my favorite guys in the world, and he knows his sport. He really does. But he picked a golf team from Europe, best team ever, without Ian Poulter and without Sergio Garcia.
I was going to go to the USA, but let's go to Neil's team. Neil, let me put your team up here.
Please do.
One of the names that's really struck me as quite interesting there was Abe Mitchell. So tell us more about this team, Neil.
So this is my European team. What is this team?
Isn't this the team you sent through, Neil?
This bears no resemblance to my team.
Hold on a sec. I've got something else here that might look more like your team.
Yes, that's my team.
Hold on a second. Well, this is.
I thought we were getting.
Did I play the boys on the break? They've been worried all day.
I love that. I got a WhatsApp from Neil this morning. He says, "I'm sending you a decoy team, and I'll send the real team to you, Brian." And Barney this evening was obviously looking at that team going, where the hell's Poulter? Where the hell's Garcia?
You can go back, if you don't mind, go back to the decoy team. The decoy team has some decent players. I mean, obviously I had to put Seve in there because then you would have known it was completely a brass. Alafabal, so there was a Spanish element there. Bernard Langer, we all know about. Tony Jacklin, who actually has got a losing record in the Ryder Cup, but he was a very good captain. And what was interesting at the time, remember that was just England at that time. It was Great Britain.
Yeah.
And the poor guys they had no chance. They were whipped every time. So sometimes he would be partnered with dare I say, a Frenchman or somebody. Well, it wouldn't have been a Frenchman, but it would have been a weaker Englishman. So it's hard to read some of the form. But Tony Jacklin was a great golfer, as the same era Peter Oosthuis, who's later on. And then Ian Woosnam, we all know, was he a Bernard Gallagher? I simply chose because of his daughter.
Nice daughter, yes.
Yeah, exactly. Neil Coles was a good player. He wasn't a bad player at all. Abe Mitchell is a true guy. 1917, he was pre-war, pre-first war. And I was telling Barney earlier on, before we came online, Gary, that I think he played in 17 Opens, British Opens, 17 Opens, and he never missed the top 10. I think he missed the top 10 once or twice, so he was a good golfer. Colin Montgomery, wonderful outgoing man, great character. And then Martin Keimer, the German. But these were all decoys. Paul Casey is a personal favorite of mine, golfer-wise, but he actually didn't make my cut.
Brilliant. Right, cool. Well played. You taught us a lesson there.
Yeah, that was very well played.
Here's my
your final side, Neil.
So obviously, Seve, Barney spotted the gallop a little bit earlier today. He kept asking me, "You've left Poulter out?" No. Never going to leave Ian out. Sergio speaks for himself. Sir Nick, Langer. Rose, now a home game for him. You know, he's got a home there at Fancourt, I think. Lee Westwood, Rory, McElroy, obviously, Stenson. This was interesting for you guys. John Rahm doesn't have a great record, but he's a young kid, and I think he's a sensational golfer. His power, I could not leave his power on the bench. So although he's young and new to Ryder Cup, there's no ways I wasn't going to take John Rahm, and nobody's going to beat Mollywood when I put them together. They are just great together.
Yeah, that's a great comment because it's still fresh in everyone's mind as well. And when the guys look at that on Twitter, they're going to remember how well they played together. Gary, is it fair to say, I know you priced Europe up around the 4-1 mark after seeing Neil's initial team. Are you giving them a bit more respect after the likes of Abe Mitchell have been retired?
The only thing that disappoints me is myself, that I actually fell for it. I mean,
and me.
You think I can't believe it? Abe Mitchell, but this is a really, really good side. If the two, to me, I think you might be surprised at who I might leave out of the side. And the only one that I might leave out, honestly, that I think is a perfectly chosen side, is I might have gone with Darren Clark instead of Stenson, just to give somebody for Westwood as well another great strong combination. But this is probably the 12 best that you could have found as individuals. Very, very good side. And obviously the 41 didn't last very long, and now they've come in. Right straight into 18 to 10.
Yeah, Darren Clark was right on the periphery, I must say. Darren Clark and Alafabal. Alafabal didn't make the side. So those two. Yeah, and I agree. If I had a weakness, it might be Stenson. The thing is, I've met and interviewed Henrik a couple of times, and I love the guy. He's got such a dry sense of humor. And I think I can work with him. You know what I mean? So his personalities as much as anything else. So he got the nod in the end.
His caddy punts with me, and if you can get graft from him on horses, I promise you won't be sorry, Neil. What that man did to me. No, I don't know. You should sit there and think, oh, thank God we saved today. We're not going to get any calls from him because Stenson's, in the final grouping, and used to get a WhatsApp. Can't talk now on the practice tee, but can I have 15,000 to 5,000 this horse, Boom, 3-1, 5-2, 18 to 10, win by 4,
No, really?
No, world class. Durban boy, I won't mention his name, but spends a lot of time punting in Durban, very, very shrewd punter. I just want to know one fact in there about your team, Barney, which we found out today, and that is that Milton Balloon played golf with Bobby Locke.
Well, never mind. But Milton, I walked 9 holes. I actually walked 9 holes with Bobby Locke back in Delmas when I was growing up on the farm. My father took me to the Delmas Country Club. Bobby Locke was in town. And walking 9 holes with him was fascinating. He had this little draw, he had a tie on, funny putting stroke, called everyone master, hated a pot. But what a great golfer. I mean, that day I walked around with him, I was in awe of that man.
Yeah. I don't know if it counts, but I walked 9 holes with Martin Locke once.
No relation.
Yeah.
No relation.
No.
to see some of the boys in the live chat just talking about some of the other sports they're betting on. The guys are getting desperate. Han Dumont saying he bet on e-cycling earlier today. I mean, then things are getting bad. Gary, are you pricing up on any esports?
No, we got that. We got sport going all the time. All the things that are going there. And, you know, like to be honest with you, just so people, and I need people to think about what I'm about to say because it's important. I've always said it's not about the money always with us. It's also about people having a fair chance. Our turnover's down, maybe 80%. I'm not sure what the exact number is, round about that. But our gross profit is up from about 11% to about 75%. And that's quite simply because people are betting on things that they know absolutely nothing about, right? It's all very well when you take a double on a Saturday afternoon and you can see Man City are at home to Man United. They're not going to get beaten. Liverpool are at home to Watford. They're not going to get beaten. Okay, those two might have happened the other way around. But you've got an idea, and you've got an idea with racing and everything, you know. But guys now are punting on things that they have no idea about. Swedish racing, you know what I mean? Horses running around, you know what I mean, with the checkers cart behind them. And I mean, at the end of the day, our margins are up dramatically because of that. And if you carry on punting, do it as a little fun hobby. Don't get too excited. And if you do have a couple of losses on the day, call it a day, come back tomorrow. I see too many people losing much too much on the crap that's on offer now.
If I can add to that, I mean, Gary knows I'm a bigger victim as anybody. And I haven't had a bet on anything since lockdown started. Since the last South African race was run, nothing. Iota. And the reason is that although I lose on other things, I always feel like I've done an intellectual exercise. I couldn't agree with Gary more. I mean, okay, maybe you're having a go at esports, but I mean, what do any of us really know about that? So, yeah, it's interesting.
I mean, I've been betting on The Bachelor. I mean, that's how bad it's got.
I'll tell you something. I don't know. I haven't got involved, and I don't know if a decision's been made. But my gut feeling is that they're going to allow racing in South Africa fairly soon. I don't know if it'll be the first mate. I think it might be. I don't know what was said.
Without jockeys.
Yeah, exactly. That can't help. That couldn't hurt. But the fact is that, look, if they do, I mean, I think that they may have to isolate it to per venue and everything and not let jockeys and that travel. Obviously, they can't travel. That won't be allowed. But even between centres, maybe just have the ball, maybe just have turf and tin. I don't know if that can work, Neil, but something. And just give us 7 race meetings, 7 cards, 7 races on a card. We don't need more than that. PAs through and everything. That's all we need. And keep it small fields and maybe do that. And maybe that would give it a chance to survive and continue early right up until the end of the year and into the future. I hope so. Because we need something like that. We need to, it's not for my turnover, but it's an industry that's absolutely in dire straits. You know what I mean? They've taken out the respirator. It's now in the hands of the gods, and we really need it to start soon, and I hope it does, and I hope that we all survive, whether you're a great enthusiast like Neil and I, and a victim like Neil and I, or just somebody that sits and enjoys the Met and the July like Barney and you do, Brent. Yeah. You know, we all need it to happen, and I hope that it does.
Well, this fingers post coming from Facebook will tell you what I've been up to in a lot of my spare time. Justin Garbutt's playing in one of my poker schools, and he says we should all bet, and the Falcon is my username. Should all bet on the Falcon buying in for a 3rd time at the poker table. I tend to make rather slow starts in the games that I play, so thanks for bringing that up, Justin. But that's what I've been up to there. Guys, let's move on to the US of A. I'm going to bring up Gary's team here. Gary, you can run us through it.
Where's Ben Hogan?
Sorry, what's his name? The only
Ben Hogan.
Is because I
sorry, Gary. Mr. Hogan. Where's Mr. Hogan?
Exactly.
You don't remember that story.
No, because Mr. Rupert will get upset to me if I don't call him Mr. Hogan. So.
Exactly. I've gone for a team here. Every single one of these people I've either seen or has visited South Africa. I'm not sure if Mr. Hogan ever did that. I'm pretty sure that Arnold Palmer did come to came to the first $1 million at Sun City or whatever it was called there. I had at my disposal many golfers that could make 2nd, 3rd, and 4th teams that would be competitive against anybody in the world. I've gone with reputation as well as what I see as combinations. The people you can't leave out, whether you've seen him or not, you can't leave out Nicklaus because whether you admit it or not, he's either the best or the 2nd best golfer in the world. There can be no arguments about that. Palmer, a huge following. Doesn't matter if it happened at Fancourt or where it is. He gave golf the popularity that it has today. He's going to have the crowd behind him. And never mind that people might say that he wasn't as good as Nicklaus and player and that, but at the end of the day, he's still got a record green jackets, and he's got a hell of a golf record and a hell of a pedigree. Can't leave him out. Trevino, no. I think that with a few of those personalities that I've got in there that, you know what I mean, haven't smiled in a few years, like Mickelson and Tom Watson, I needed somebody with a sense of humor in my dressing room, and I've gone for Trevino. I've gone for a guy that, if they're down and behind, could motivate them and get them to rally a little bit. You know what I'm saying? And a guy that the crowd's not going to get to. He's a guy that could take the crowd that's going to be supporting the South Africans and the rest of the world and have his supporters as well. And he's a great golfer in his own right. He's got as many stories as Barney got. You know what I'm saying? He's going to be, one thing's for sure, win, lose or draw, he's going to be as popular as anybody in the bar after golf every round. Tom Watson, I had to put him in when we moved it to Fancourt. He has more British Opens than anybody that I can think of off the top of my head. Links was his game. He nearly won a British Open, I think, when he was 60. You'll be able to tell me, Barney.
59.
And I think he got beaten by Stuart Singh. You know what I mean? And how stiff is that to get beaten by Stuart Singh? But he certainly deserves his place there because it's on the links, and he's won plenty majors. Woods, he speaks for himself. For me, he's the greatest golf personality and the greatest golfer that I would guess I'll ever see in my life. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, I've won more money on Tiger Woods than I have on anybody else. And maybe he doesn't have the best Ryder Cup record, but it's not as bad as people think. It's bad by his high standards, but he has a hell of a President's Cup record. So, and obviously he chooses himself. There's no question about it. He'll be the first person on my list. Mickelson, I was close to leaving him out. He's got a great record and he's a great competitor, but I was close to leaving him out. There's something about Mickelson. I don't know if it's that stupid look on his face that he sometimes gives when he's under pressure, or it's the fact that he doesn't wear a big enough thing to keep his chest in place. I'm not sure what it is. I'm not going to insult him. He's a great golfer. But there's something about Mickelson. I had to really, the team's gone off there, Brent. Is that what Neil's saying?
No, I'm saying no Kupka, exactly as the comments come through. I mean, I keep looking at it's outrageous.
I just wonder, is Kupka a team player? And it was between Kupka and Mickelson. That's it. And does Kupka care enough about the history of this event? You know what I'm saying? I've got a feeling that Kupka's a lone ranger. That's what I believe.
He's no less a lone ranger than Tiger, surely.
Yeah, but he's not as good as Tiger.
Well, that remains to be seen.
Tiger. Hold on a second. Tiger wasn't such a lone ranger in the evenings.
That's true.
Tiger's going to block Barney on Twitter as well.
No. I'm happy I'm not on Twitter, right? Because if I did have any followers, they'd all be gone because of you guys, right? But the fact of the matter is, Mickelson, and that was my choice, Mickelson and Kupka, and I went for the fact that one has a proven track record and the other one, a bit like John Rahm and Neil, still has to prove it. I got a gut feeling. My feeling is that Rahm will prove to be a better golfer than Kupka at the end of the day. I know he's got some ground to make up, but I can't. Kupka, he's lost a little bit of his sparkle, and this tournament starts this week, right? It starts tomorrow, and Kupka's form the last 6 months done nothing to.
He was injured, eh? He had a bad injury, and remember.
That's why I left him out. Sorry, he's had a bad injury, Brent, and remember, he's had a bad injury, and I don't want to bring anybody. I
understand your logic, but Kupka is only interested in majors anyway, and we hadn't had a major started, so. He was dialing in majors, but anyway, you're entitled to your opinion. You've drifted 7-2.
Consideration he got. Then I've got Spieth and Reed. Now, when I chose the side originally, it was like we said, going to be at Augusta, and I couldn't leave them out because Spieth's record at Augusta is great, and him and Reed have the best combination: President's Cup and Ryder Cup.
Over.
Okay, we'll see. They got a great record, but.
They don't get on anymore.
Oh, don't they?
No. Remember Spieth asked to please tell Justin Thomas and not with Reed. Remember Neil?
Yeah.
Guys, I just want to point out, this is Gary's decoy team. His real team's coming up after.
My real team, it's about to come now. Don't worry. Wait till you see my real team. Corey Paven, Lee Jensen. I've got some really good golf. Tommy Tolles. You know what I mean? I've got some solid guys with a proper record. So I'm move on from Spieth and Reed because there's a limit to how much abuse I can take before I have to go home and cry. So, but I've chosen Spieth and Reed simply because of the fact that somebody needs to watch Vijay Singh, and these two are a great combination. They are a great combination. No question. They have a record. I've then gone for Davis.
Davis Love. Jeepers.
The man's won 20 PGA Tours.
Hang on. This is Davis Love the first, who played with Abe Mitchell.
Exactly.
Not Davis Love the third. It's Davis Love the first, the grandfather.
Davis Love, he's got a hell of a record. Again, another one is going to make a good combination with Furyk. He's going to make a good combination with couples. It's all about combinations. It's all about Ryder Cup and President Cup records. He's going to win his fair share of games. I just like to after YouTube got stuck into me, I just like to revive betting. America went from one.
You are a certainty to run last.
No, I'm hoping. And the other problem is, this is going to get distributed to all the Twitter followers in New York, none of which are capable of getting anywhere near a phone or a computer for a while. No. So the new betting, America have gone from 1 to 3 to 3 to 1. Dead in the water. I'm not even going to go on with the rest of my team. Furyk, Thomas, Couple, fucked a lot of them, right? We're stretching. That's it. The Americans, if they could get on a plane and leave South Africa, they would. They just can't get back home. So that's it. They have to play. Otherwise, I'd pull them all out of it, right? I don't know how I'm going to get a point now that I look at the side. I was so. Is it too late to bring Bobby Jones?
Ben Hogan, Bobby Jones, Byron Nelson, Sam Snead. Oh, some great players you left out. Mr. Hogan, Mr. Snead. Oh.
This is you have gone to work. Yeah, seriously, you've gone to work on a great golfing nation, and you've brought it down to this.
I'd be surprised if I can get into the singles against these two clowns, right? We're 2.5 points behind. It's all over. We'll win all 12 of the singles. I know who's playing who.
Well,
and
that's debatable. Yeah.
And like I said, you saw my afternoon foursome. I want to see you beat that team.
Well, that was Cindy Crawford, wasn't it?
But I think the problem with the USA team is so few of the players are likable. So they actually are, brilliant players. Like a guy like Reed, you can't really argue. He's a great match player. He's just not very likable. So when you put the team all together, you kind of got to really look in there. As you say, Trevino pops out as one you like. But finish your team, Gary, because then, of course, we can let the other guys say who they would have put in if they were captain of the US.
Well, they've already said. Saracen, Hogan. I'm not taking a hell of it. I haven't left anybody else.
Did you not, Ricky Fowler, not on your radar?
I wouldn't let Ricky Fowler play in the King David Mowbray second side, okay? He's never won a thing. I promise you now, Ricky Fowler.
What about Hale Irwin?
Hale Irwin. At this stage, I might need a Hail Mary to get out of it come Sunday afternoon. Never mind, Hale Irwin. These aren't goals. Please. It's my fault for coming on late. I opened myself up to this type of abuse. Next week, I promise you I'm going to be the first person on here, right? And I want to be put back onto the group chat. I insist that you put me back onto the group chat. I know you're talking behind my back. Now let me get the other review. Wait, here comes a message from my office, how they did today. I know what's going to be the news. I was quite confident going into the shot. Can just see a minus. Hold on. No, that was up pulling my leg. Right, let's get back onto serious things here. There's no weaknesses.
Well, listen, it's a powerful team. There's no doubt about it. Any USA team is going to be strong.
Yeah. And like I said, Barney, the one thing I just trying to not really fight fire with fire, but you did say that you chose Adam Scott because all he wants to do is beat those Americans in the President's Cup.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's true. All he wants to do is beat them. He's tried 24 times and he's never got close. I don't have that much more to say about that.
A good point. Very good point. But don't forget, Fancourt links is where we did not lose the President's Cup. We halved it with America. It's got to be in my favor. The course designers in my team. Ernie lives nearby. Brandon Grace lives on the course. Louis Oosthuizen lives up the road. Surely, I've got to win this thing.
Maybe if you put Chris Davidson in there instead of Peter Oosthuizen, or instead of Peter Johnson or whatever, you would have had a chance. You know what I'm saying? You can't just choose Oaks in the magisterial district of George and expect to win the President's Cup. You know what I'm saying?
one thing about Chris, if you put Chris in the team, he definitely would have been keeping an eye on Vijay Singh. There's no doubt about that. He would have kept both eyes on him for sure. So, I mean, look, in a weird way, doing the American team is you're always going to cop abuse because, as you say, there are some tough decisions to make. I mean, I'm not criticizing on Reed at all. Patrick Reed would have been, he's a bit, for me, like Ian Poulter. He would have been one of the first on the team sheets. So I don't mind he's a bit of a loner and he's ugly and wins, But so I got no problem with Reed. I would just a couple that. But as I said to you guys when we were talking about it, in your mind, you also got to put together a team, haven't you? So that's kind of why Monty didn't make my European team, because everybody's got a gel. You can have maybe one or two individuals, brilliant individuals, outspoken like a Poulter, but you can't have 12 of them.
What we didn't put in these three teams, Gary, is we never a team captain. So my captain at Fancourt would be Ian Baker-Finch, would be my captain of this team, and I would make Tony Johnson, Mark McNulty, and Mark Leishman my vice captains.
Well, at least you'll be able to see Leishman. The other two you might not see if they're walking in the rough. But I mean, okay, that's fair enough. Nothing wrong with that at all. I would go for Azinger as my captain.
Yes.
I would go with the guy that I really maybe should have put in the side as well, because I said it's people that I've seen. That's why there was no Mr. Hogan and Saracen and those guys. The one guy that I did see that's not yet a hell of a record is Ray Floyd. I would put Ray Floyd there as one of my vice captains, and I would probably put maybe Hale Irwin in there as well. So I've got plenty of experience as well. And I did have Bobby Jones as my captain when we were at Augusta for the same reason that you've got a player there. You know what I mean? He knew a few new grannies. But who would you have captaining your team, Neil? Bernard Gallagher, so you can meet his daughter.
Not A.B. Mitchell, please.
No, Seve all the way.
Playing captain.
Playing captain.
Yeah.
Oh, you hit it.
One and only.
Okay. Good choice.
Seve, I mean, I believe in playing captains, and he was just, to me, I mean, we talk about the big three. We talk about Gary Player and Jack and Arnold, but on the other side of the pond, Seve's incomparable.
Yeah, incomparable. Yeah. Unbelievable.
I agree. Just, even if he had maybe one or two chinks or whatever it is, and maybe not as consistent as some of them, but if you had to choose a guy to play around a golf with, I mean, there are very few people that have watched golf for the last 30 or 40 years that wouldn't have Seve in their 4-ball to play with if he was, still around to do that. You know what I'm saying? And he could do things that nobody else could do, and he did. And, I'll say that he probably, after Gary Player, the next most important person for making $1 million where it is today. You know what I'm saying? Because that's all people were interested in. Is Seve coming as a South African public? And, he was just, he was world class,
Neil, I think you've seen on SuperSport, they got those wonderful clips from the Ryder Cup of David Howell telling when he played there with Monty. And I mean, that was fantastic. That's what it's all about as well. I'll never forget, I did a Q&A with Billy Foster, and he told us some great stories about how Seve disliked Tom Kite so much. And I mean, so many funny stories going back to those days with Seve. What a legend of the tournament he was.
Can I throw another one out there? And I say, I think that of all the challenges, I think that Gary had the most difficult one because he's got such a pool to pull from. But I'm surprised you haven't gone for Lanny Watkins, because when you look at the record of the man, and when he needed to produce, he always produced. Someone with bottle. Lanny Watkins for me would have been, so I'm going to be a bit controversial here, just in general with the recent American teams. The reason why they've had a bad record in recent times is they've got no bottle, they've got no heart. Right. I think some of them have, apart from Patrick Reed, who you'd want to go to war with, I'd rather go back into the days of a Lanny Watkins or a Jack Nicklaus, where you knew he'd look at you in those eyes with his blue eyes going down the stretch and you couldn't beat him.
So definitely, and I mean, Lanny Watkins would have formed a hell of a combination with Couples. And, looking back and listening to everything, I could easily have swapped Davis Love for Lanny Watkins. No doubt about it, There's no doubt. That would... And Davis Love was a great captain as well. So I could have strengthened up my management team as well. if I had to make a change now, I would.
Was Davis Love a great captain? I don't think he ever wanted this captain.
No, he didn't. But I think he still had his team behind him. You know what I'm saying? And I think that
Yeah,
he would
they were behind him when they went home.
He would definitely be there. So if I could swap Love for Lanny Watkins, and I still would keep Mickelson in there instead of Koepka, because I think Koepka, people don't trust him anymore because everything that was said in the last American change room came out. And I think that's poor in sport. You know what I'm saying? He had too much to say, and I don't think that's great and everything. But one thing's for sure, everybody there in my team has a partner, and that we haven't got to yet. You know what I'm saying? And I have sometimes more than one partner. So that's going to be the interesting thing now. You know what I'm saying? Like who we put together against everybody.
Yeah.
Gary, we'll give you one change. Do you want Watkins for Love, or are you going to leave it as it was?
Yeah, I've never believed in Love. Let's go Watkins for Love.
I love that. I love that.
I'll be tagging Davis Love on Twitter.
Ooh,
Okay, let's have a look. We've got Watkins in for Love.
Beautiful.
Okay.
I don't know if you spell it like that.
And you're
The
keeping
spelling doesn't look right. Huh?
you're keeping Spieth. You don't want to change it to Ed Jordan instead of Jordan Spieth.
No, I'm keeping
He has
Spieth. I mean,
He lost his swing, Gary.
he has,
He's
but I
lost his
chose it
swing.
when I chose
But
it
he's
when
at
the
his
side
prime.
was going to be Augusta, and at his best.
Yeah, okay,
Remember
fair
that.
point. At his prime, yeah.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? He's got a few mates in the team. You know what I'm saying? He's got a great combination with Reed. He's still mates with Thomas. He's still mates with Tiger. You know what I mean? He'll be okay there. He won't be. He'll be okay.
It's actually an interesting point that, because if you pick a guy like Gary Player, obviously everyone knows you're picking him at his prime. But when you pick a guy like Spieth, it's quite interesting because a lot of people are thinking of him as he plays now. But in actual fact, I mean, at his best, yeah, he's well worthy of the players in the team. So I think that's the thing. All of the players here at their best. And I didn't expect. I thought the USA chat would be one of the briefer ones, but that actually took us quite a while. But should we get onto tomorrow's games and pick our teams? I haven't made enough. So what we've got, I've called them 6 balls and 6 sims. The only reason is the only difference from the Ryder Cup and that is that there's obviously going to be 3 teams playing against each other. And we put them out on Twitter, and whichever team wins get 2 points. Whichever team comes second gets a point, and then we get a point for 0. Gary, before we do this, I'd just be interested to know, based on where we stand now, how would you be betting now in this 3-horse race at this point? Or do you want to think about it a bit during the?
I tell you now exactly. I bet 18
At Fancourt.
18 to 10 all 3.
18 to 10 all 3.
Yeah.
Interested to see if any of the guys on the live chat would fancy a bet there. Brendan O'Connell certainly quite happy to see Davis loving his miserable face out the team. I think that sort of speaks to exactly what we were talking about for the USA. But let's get on to the 6 balls. That's going to be in the morning. We'll pick the 6 sims as well, the afternoon ones as well, just because from a logistic point of view, it'll be hard to get everyone's predictions and get it up. And then Friday night we'll reconvene on WhatsApp or whatever and have it. It looks like Gary's actually got load shedding or something. Check, guys. He's got...
No, I'm back. Wait,
are you there? I thought maybe you took offense at Brendan's comment about Davis Love or something and decided to bolt.
Tommy Bolt. Not a bad player.
Okay, but we can.
Should be back now.
Yeah, you're back.
Okay, so let's talk the first. Let's go the first 4 ball tomorrow. We're going to pick 4 4-balls and 4 foursomes. So your morning pairings, Barney. Let's start with you with your first pairing.
Well, I'll send out the guns up front. My 2 gunners. They can't lose those 2. Not at Fancourt. Not in America. And no, anywhere in the world can they lose. They don't lose. Brandon Grace and Louis Oosthuizen.
Grace and Louis going first up
for
Barney, and then let's go to Europe. Will you first up for you, Neil, to take on Grace and Oosthuizen?
Okay, I'm going to sacrifice a few now because we're at Fancourt and we're in South Africa, so I don't think that I must play my big guns here. So I'm going to play. I'm going to play Faldo and Stenson.
Okay.
Sure. Interesting pairing, Neil.
Yeah, well, I'm sacrificing them. I'm acknowledging. I don't know who the Americans are going to come out with, but it doesn't really matter. So, I think you might have that one. So I'm going to play. Yeah, I'll play Faldo and Rose. Did I say? No, Faldo and
Stenson.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay, now over to captain of the Team USA.
I'm either going with Watkins and Couple or Spieth and Reed. I'm going to go with Watkins and Couples.
Watkins and Couples. Right, so our first matchup, Watkins Couples against Grace and Oosthuizen and Faldo and Stenson. That's our first game out. Let's go on to the second one, and this time let's start with Neil. You can give us your two fancies.
Okay, I'm going for Seve and Ian Poulter.
Oh, I knew you were going to mix those two. What a combo that is, eh? Seve and Poulter. And move across to Gary, USA.
Okay, I'm going to definitely forfeit here. I'm going to go with
Davis Loudgate. Bring him back in.
Furyk and Tom Watson.
Furyk and Watson. I'll definitely be watching the show again because I can't read my writing. And then the international final pick here in the second one.
These two guys will beat Seve and Poulter, Furyk. No problem whatsoever. We're talking Gary Player and Nicky Price.
Ooh, that's a big one as well.
That's the team. And they both go to bed early. Good team.
I'm happy that I sacrificed.
Yeah, it's not a bad one to sacrifice that, Gary. But now you can pick first in the third one.
I'll pick up the next few. I'm going to go with. Let me pick up a point here. I might be a little bit behind, although I think I'll get a half out of the first game. I'll go with Woods and Thomas.
Woods and Thomas. That's a good tested combo. And Barney.
Well, I've got a great Australian team to kick their butts. I'm talking about Greg Norman and Adam Scott.
Norman and Scott. Okay, so there's going to be. I think this is going to be the one which could decide the session. Let's see what Neil's going for Europe.
I'm going for Rory McIlroy and John Rahm.
Ooh.
Also sacrificing.
Tasty.
I don't think anybody's going to be out driving me.
Huh?
No way.
You'll get a fair crowd for that one.
Okay, and then we've got Barney, the last of the morning session. Barney, you go first.
Well, my last team, because they just arrived a bit late. They had a big night last night. My two great characters and two of the greatest golfers that South Africa has ever produced is Ernie Els and Bobby Locke.
Els and Locke.
Neil likes that team. I know it.
I do.
And Neil?
I'm going for Mollywood here. Yeah, Francesco Molinari and Tommy Fleetwood. Unbelievable record.
I'm starting to think Gary's 18 to 10. The field here is looking like some pretty decent betting. Gary, last up for you on this one.
Nicklaus and Palmer.
Oh, ouch.
Oof,
Locke and Els against Nicklaus and Palmer. This stuff dreams are made of, guys. Wow.
They went bed early, they'll finish early. I'll put them back to sleep on the 12th.
Okay, so that's where they're playing better ball there. Now we're going to the afternoon session, or we'll call it an evening session for tomorrow, the Sixums, and we'll start with Neil. Who are you going to put first out in the afternoon session, Neil?
Justin Rose and Lee Westwood.
Rose and Westwood. And Gary?
Spieth and Reed.
Spieth and Reed. And Barney?
I can't see this team being beat. I mean, two great Aussies again. The great Greg Norman and Peter Thompson.
Norman and Thompson. Okay, brilliant. Then that was so it's Gary, you to lead off in the second game of the afternoon.
I'll go with Trevino and Palmer.
Bring them.
Palmer in. Barney, who are you putting up against them?
Well, I've got two of the hardest workers the game's ever seen. They've hit more golf balls than any two men alive.
Vijay's
And
one
they
of
are
them.
Vijay Singh and Gary Player.
Singh and Player. Interesting.
You're looking pale.
No, Neil looking pale.
Yeah, who you Singh and Player? I'm worried about who's going to come over the top again. Gary maybe coming with his Nicklaus and Palmer story again. But I'm going to stick with who I was going to go, which is now going to be. Sorry, I'm just thinking about that. I haven't. Yeah, I can't go for him, mate. I've got to play Sergio. So Sergio, definitely got to have a start, and I'm going to pair him up with Henrik Stenson.
Stenson. Okay, sorry, my Wi-Fi just dropped there for a sec, but it got you there, right? So we've got two more games to go in the afternoon. It was Gary who led us off there now, so it's Barney, you to lead.
Well, here we go for a very unusual team, a lefty and a righty. New Zealand's greatest golfer, Bob Charles, and Ernie Els. Ernie Els and Bob Charles.
And Ernie Els. Okay, and Neil, second pick for you.
Okay. I've got to send Poulter out again. But this time I'm going to send him out with Rahm, John Rahm.
With John Rahm and Gary.
I'll also go left, right. Mickelson couples.
Good team, good team. That's a good team.
Say, did they play together? Because you would think those two would gel together in a
I think they played President's Cup back in the day.
President's Cup, yeah, because they just look like those personalities that might gel together. So it's Mickelson and couples. And Neil, you get to lead us off. Gary will start us off with Saturday's picks. He'll be first up in the next round, but you get to lead us off with the last pick for Friday.
Well, they won in the morning, so I'm going to play them again. Mollywood.
Mollywood, yeah. Okay, great.
I mean, obviously they win. They win every time they play. So they won in the morning. I must play them again.
Right, can I go next, Brent? I can't wait to repost here, please. I've got a team that's never ever lost, and they won in the morning. Brandon Grace and Louis Westhuizen.
The Oaks are so keen for All America, hasn't got a look in yet.
Okay, I'm just going to make.
Lost.
This is sometimes you have to just to make sure that everything an audit to make everything's above board, right? You put in a team that's guaranteed to win, and if they don't, you know that people that Barney's bribing people and Neil's bribing people. So I put in a team that can't lose. I don't expect these guys to go past the 11th hole. Let's just go. I know they haven't won too many majors between them, but it's okay. An up and coming combination. Let's go, Nicklaus and Woods.
That's a good combo, I must say. That's
You're
big
talking
guns.
3 majors between those two.
Number 1 and 2 of all time in the world, whichever order you want to look at it. That's
Probably won't play well together.
That's going to be interesting. Okay, so we got our 4 balls. So I'll have them all up on the. I'll put them on the Good for the Game website. Everyone can have a look at them, and then I will probably start putting them out tomorrow from about 12. We'll send the first 4 out. We'll wait for that to finish, and we'll send the next 4, and then Friday night we'll be in touch with each other on the group and that, and we'll nail up the selections for the next day. But,
sorry, what time was that? Because I've got this electric remote voting system that I just want to. What time did you say?
Around midday there. Get your system ready to start tapping away.
Neil's got the whole family there. Clock.
Exactly. They're just going like this. I've got the 3-month-old just going for Mollywood.
If I was Barney, I'd be tagging Tony Johnson and say, "Hey, by the way, you're my vice skipper."
I hope he knows that.
I hope that everybody else knows that as well. I just want to say one thing: if we allowed closing arguments and things in mitigation,
yes, of course.
Say that just for the voters out there, there's not a popularity competition or anything, right? This is about which golfer you think would really win the thing. I mean, it would be easy to take it and smash the Americans out because they're a miserable bunch of whatever you want to call them. but it's about who the best combinations are. Give us a chance. I know that Seve and Gary Play and Bobby Locke are much more fun than my bunch of like miserable self. Anyway, it's not a popularity competition. I know there are a few narcissists in my team. I know there are a few miserable shits, whatever you want to call them, but they are still good golfers, and give me a fair chance because I've taken more abuse in the last hour than most people have in the last year.
Very well, Gary. I think the people must try and look beyond the personalities and at the team. And when you look at Gary's team, I mean, we all had a good laugh but when you look at some of those combos he's putting out, Neil, there's some blooming strong combinations. I mean, Woods and Nicklaus. You don't get stronger than that.
Well, you don't.
Put the two best together. Nah, don't work like that.
Exactly, that's the thing. I mean, and I do agree. I mean, I totally agree with what Gary's saying. So when the guy votes, he can't think also equally. He can't think about that Woods categorically the best golfer that's ever lived. But Ryder Cup record, who does he get on with? Who doesn't he? And that's true of probably a couple in everybody's team. You know, so you got to be careful who you send Poulter out with. You got to be careful even who I send Seve out because he's such an individual. But so you've got to think of the blend, and then the whole thing is to try and visualize it, and that's where the fun comes in. Excellent,
and that's where the voters will be doing that same visualization, and it's going to be interesting to see which way it leans. Barney?
Well, are we going to tomorrow morning, the next day, aren't we?
No. What we'll do is let's see how it goes, because you might, for example, find that one of your players is letting you down badly, and then you can rest him the next day.
Unless Bobby Locke and Ernie decide to have a big night, I might change things. But yeah, I've got some plans up my sleeve. I just think that I've got to be favourite. I've got more British Opens in this field, in this team of mine than any other team. Both America and Europe have not won as many British Opens. Well, I've got some of the greatest players ever. We're playing at home. I've got the course designer. I've got Louis Ursos and Brandon Grace. I can't see us losing, really, guys. I really can't.
There's no doubt. No doubt your second favourite.
Is there no? I don't believe you're allowed to lead the witnesses here. To be perfectly honest with you, you know? I mean, just in case.
Here we go, Barney. Gary, you're going to enjoy this one, eh? Brendan's coming in for USA.
Go,
Brendan. Who? I mean, Brendan.
Unfortunately, he's not on Twitter. That's a pity.
Yeah.
What do you mean, Brendan? Get onto Twitter. There's a 400,000 rand opening account at GG Gaming. Get all your friends. Get onto Twitter now.
Don't worry, punched you already.
I just want to say something. In case you haven't heard for the last 57 minutes and 20 seconds, Gary Player designed Fancourt. Brandon Grace lives on Fancourt. Ernie House lives in Heronville around the corner, whatever it is, right? All the caddies.
Herald's Bay.
All the Americans and the European side went for supper at Barney's house and got food poisoning. Otherwise, it's all level playing fields, guys. You don't have to worry about anything else. Right?
Yeah,
out of the game.
Well, that's it. We said for day one. I must say, I thought, Neil, I laughed a lot on the show with you last week, and both the shows with Barney and Gary. But I think tonight, collectively, I've laughed more than ever. Very, very, very enjoyable show. But it's going to be good. So be in contact on Twitter. Gary, I know you're not on Twitter. I'll be tagging GG Gaming and Shuffle Up Poker. If I was you, I would get them tweeting away.
There you go. That's another string to my bow. I'm not on Twitter. What is Twitter?
Mr. Hogan is watching you.
Yeah. What if this Gary Player is on Twitter?
One thing for sure, right? One thing's for sure. That I don't know how many people see it. I know you guys, I would imagine, got hundreds of thousands of followers. It would make sense. The fact of the matter is, this is something that not anybody else has done. Lots happened during the virus and lockdown with people doing so. Nobody's done this. It was a very novel, although novel's not a great word sometimes in these times. It was a very good idea, Brent, and everything, and you need to be commended on it as well. And I mean, I've really thoroughly enjoyed the past hour, and I mean, it's great to see old friends and catch up and talk again, and put our little bit of knowledge and ideas together and see where it comes. And you know what I mean? I look forward to the results. I don't care if you don't ever send them to me. Who cares? But we'll catch up again tomorrow,
Excellent, Gary. Yeah, I mean, you planted the seed, and when we were having a chat with Barney the other night for this idea, so it's great. I'm looking forward to it on Twitter, and I'm excited at some of these combinations. Gary, maybe we'll throw a bet or two out for the boys even, and see if anyone wants to get involved. But yeah, it looks pretty good. Neil, thanks very much. Look forward to watching your shows on YouTube, but I will be in contact tomorrow to see what you've got for Saturday.
Yeah, thanks. And I just wish Gary all the best for finding a replacement for Spieth when he doesn't crack one vote in the next 24 hours.
Or he doesn't find a fairway.
What about Trump? It was so obvious.
Should have gone with Trump versus
Don't
Terry.
go there.
I'll tell you what I am going to do, Gary, for you. I'm going to tag, because Donald Trump, I know you're not on Twitter, but Donald Trump's the most active leader on Twitter that you've ever known in your life. I'm going to tag Donald Trump and I'm going to say, your country needs you to retweet this tweet.
Make America great again.
One of the most popular guys in the world right now, backing my side. Why don't you just take away Palmer and Woods and Nicklaus and leave me with Nine Oaks? You know what I'm saying? I mean, Trump. Oh my God, this is getting worse by the second. Have a go. Why don't you get Ramaphosa to jump in and support the Americans as well? I mean, anybody else? No. I think we quit now. Whoever, look at it on a golf basis, guys, and we go from there.
Excellent, guys. Thanks so much. It was great chatting to you. Thanks for the boys who joined us in the live chat.
Thank you.
We'll be in touch over Twitter and over the weekend. Thanks, everyone.
Cheers. Love you all.
Cheers, guys. Ciao.